Peace of the saints. I've been informed that we have a live testimony given from the Clintons, or they're testifying. And we're going to go ahead and take a listen and see if this is actually true and see what is being said. So let's watch right now. It is going on live as we speak. Let's see what we can learn and gather. Let's see. Wait a second.
We've got the 30,000 documents that they sent us in August. It was a dump, and it was largely already made public. It wasn't prepared. I'll give you a comparison. We've got a handful of attorneys that work for the estate of Jeffrey Epstein, and they have given us more in the same amount of time than the Department of Justice has given. I want to point out that there are 100,000 employees at the Department of Justice.
That's
and
crazy.
I know very recently the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York has now put a considerable number of people on the case redacted.
No, my curiosity in terms of how government functions is what are the consequences? We see that there's clearly a breakdown. The executive branch, which is to say the Trump administration directly, they've lied about the importance of, the existence of the Epstein files. They have not followed what apparently they were supposed to do in terms of sharing this information publicly. Now, the real question is, what are the consequences? We know when you and I don't follow rules that we never agreed to follow, that we experience punishment and consequences. If you run for office, you have submitted yourself to the rules of government. And they're still not being followed and respected. So what are the consequences? Is this just a show?
March 3rd, 2025, she told Sean Hannity that a truckload of evidence had arrived, that FBI Director Kash Patel is going to get me and himself really a detailed report as to why all these documents and evidence had been withheld, close quote. However, in July 2025, Bondi and the FBI released an unsigned memorandum concluding that the review found no evidence, no evidence that Epstein had a client list or that he blackmailed prominent associates. And this is obviously.
So the problem is that we have a populace that is very, I don't even know what the word is. I don't know if they're foolish. I don't know if they're fearful. I don't know if they lack testosterone. I don't know if they're accustomed to being abused. But the fact of the matter is that the population is comfortable with the current level of suffering. And in as much as that's the case, we're not going to see any change unless circumstances get worse, which I would hope that doesn't happen, or unless there's someone who radicalizes the current population, which is hard for someone to do unless you have control over TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and you can penetrate the algorithms. You know, increasingly, any revolution, whether it's a revolution in thinking or a true political revolution, it would require that someone is plugged in with technology, unless the revolution would occur offline, which would make it a lot more slower. It would be analog, it would be old world. And the pre-existing networks that supported a Martin Luther King, etc., are not as strong in any community in the United States, including ethnic communities. The church is not as strong. We do have mega churches, but it's just not what it used to be.
Promised that we would do everything we possibly. We didn't say, well, we'll check with the Judiciary Committee and we'll let them do the work. We said we would take on this responsibility, which is ours, Mr. Chairman. This is the rightful jurisdiction for this case, and we should demand people with evidence to produce that evidence so that we can proceed in our work. We haven't done that thus far. We've let Pam Bondi.
Now, to me, this whole conversation, and I don't know how long it's gone on. I was notified about this before dinner. And so I had time to order and finish a steak and lobster, and this thing is still going on. I find it to be utterly bizarre that this fellow is talking about what hasn't happened as opposed to what we need to do presently. and what the consequences are, because he's saying things that the American public already knows. We know that information is being hidden. We know that there is a significant amount of the files that has been redacted, and only a small percentage has been released. So this we know, and this is the kind of thing that lets me know the government is just putting on a show. None of these people are sincere. There was one politician from Louisiana named Huey P. Long, and he was telling some of his colleagues in government, he said, you know, sometimes I don't know whether I should be in here in the building with you guys, or if I should be outside protesting with the people, which is to say, if you are actually a human being and you have feelings and emotions and you're an authentic person, I don't know how they could not be rageful, because we've gone so far beyond what is reasonable.
I signed that subpoena for the estate. And then with respect to with your criticism of Bondi, I don't disagree with anything you said in your criticism of the current Attorney General. And I think she's going to have to answer those questions in front of Congress, in front of the American people in 2 weeks. And I'm confident she's going to be asked those questions, and I expect to hear answers from the criticism that you leveled against her. No one's defending her. Again, we expect to get the documents. They have produced some. We aren't satisfied with the pace, and she's going to be in front of Congress in 2 weeks to answer that exact criticism. Chair recognizes Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the opportunity to address the unjustified and cowardly claims made against me by members of this committee after I left, and maybe they were afraid to face me while I was here, but I'm here now and I'm going to face you. Just to be clear, if you have this job, you should know that any subpoena from another Congress is invalid in the next Congress. It dies with the last Congress. That's minimum information that you should know if you're going to serve in Congress. So just let me inform you of that if you didn't know that.
Anyone who's watching this or has been watching this particular stream that I'm looking at, which is from the Times of India, if this is not the correct stream, someone let me know. So I'm like, where's Bill?
Regarding the so-called subpoena, it is unjust and it is immoral to get a group of your friends together who have a predetermined outcome, put them together in a room, and then use the power of the federal government to prevail on your political enemies. The subpoena that was served to me or my counsel was not valid because there was no valid committee serving it. I did not violate any law, and I reject the claims or the averance that I did. The Democrat Party sought to, by use of the awesome...
You know, the funny thing is that politics attracts the very worst in humankind. Many times people have asked me to go into government. They've suggested it, recommended it, tried to make a way for me, offered to finance, offered to campaign. And I've never wanted to go into government. It attracts the very worst of humankind. Those who are power seekers, those who want to rule over others. If you really want to help someone, you'll just go help. You don't have to be elected to do that. And we see so often that rather than dealing with the issues in the society, the Democrats and Republicans would rather deal with each other, their petty squabbles among themselves. It's really annoying. I don't think we need to hear the term Democrat. We don't need to hear the term Republican, because you're not supposed to be representing a party once you're in government. Once you're in government, you represent constituents within a given region. You don't represent a party. And that just lets me know that, you know, we are so very lost. The system needs to be crushed, the entire system, and with everyone in it.
Also, this committee should be all about wherever it comes from and whoever it touches. And I believe that to my soul, which is why I have been on this bandwagon long before you have ever been on it, and much more than you have ever.
Yeah, I don't know what bro is talking about. But anyways, I want to do two things. He says, saying it has happened. This is to get Bill Clinton to come to court. Okay. I think maybe you meant it hasn't happened. That may be a typo. Anyways, two things. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to acknowledge the folks who have supported the work. Of course, I appreciate you all. And then I'm going to try to do a separate live, which I already agreed to do, which is reacting to the Epstein leaked interview between Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon. So let me acknowledge the folks who have supported the work. And of course, I thank those of you who actually support. I thank those of you who are members. And if you're not a member, this is a great time to become a member at the beginning of the month. You can do so at peacetothesaints.com. May I acknowledge, shout out to Constantine, came in via Venmo, writes tuition. Shout out to Mark, writes Peace to the Saints tuition via Venmo as well. May I also acknowledge Mr. McNair. He writes, will there eventually be assassin attire for the lady saints so we know how to identify them in public and avoid spitting game? I hear you on that one. You know what? That's something that we will look into. If you encounter a woman out in the public and you don't know her to be a part of the organization, absolutely, you should shoot the shot. But what I referenced in the recent video in terms of how we engage lady saints, how we treat our women, generally you're going to know that they're lady saints because they're at the event, they've been presented in a particular way. But yes, I think it is important to do that. And that is one of the things that is on the to-do list. And I thank you for that question. May I also acknowledge Gary using the Stripe link to support the work. We appreciate you. And shout out to all of you who are watching right now on twitch.tv/MarquetteDevon. You are appreciated. Go ahead and check back with me shortly. I'll be reacting to the very informative, very thoughtful leaked interview between Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon. I'll see you shortly. Peace to the Saints.